Hi, my name is Comet and welcome to my cosmic corner of the internet where we discuss all things astrology, and today all things Aries Full Moon 2022 and you. What illumination this powerful, vulnerable lunation is bringing to the surface within your world, how you can co-create with this energy, and which house within your astrological natal chart it is illuminating within your chart and within your world. This is such a powerful lunation, but it is powerful within its vulnerability. And know that it's not an oxymoron. We are breaking it all down, how it is that this full moon is asking you to take off the mask, reveal your authenticity, be boldly and courageously 100% yourself, and to really observe which connections and relationships you do not feel safe to allow yourself to be seen within your visibility, within your totality. And loves, I just want to highlight that if you gain any value from this video, a like, a comment, a share, a subscription, truly any of those buttons, even a dislike, it's Aries full moon, be honest, be you, speak your truth, is so appreciated and allows me to continue to create cosmic content. And without further ado, let's take it into Aries full moon, October 9th, 2022, and you. Okay, love, so let's break down this lunation. Firstly, it exacts on October 9th at 1:55 p.m. PDT. It lands at 16 degrees Aries, and it illuminates the axis of self versus other, right? We have Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, all about the divine spark of life, the divine spark of authenticity and rawness, opposing Libra, which is the sign around balancing, harmonizing, and connecting with others. So there is this illumination within our relationship, certainly, and how much of ourselves we can be within those connections. With this lunation opposing Venus in Libra, I want you to be conscious around which connections you feel you have to perform for, wear a mask for, pretend to be something that you are not for. Because this Aries full moon reminds us that for our connections to thrive and survive, it's important that we have the space to be authentically and truly ourselves within them. And with the opposition to Venus, it's just bringing to the surface where it is that we are harmonizing or brushing under the rug or pretending or projecting in order to allow our connections to survive. But any relationship that forces you to project a version of yourself that is not you is not sustainable. And this lunation is making you aware of that, because Libra is the energy around wanting things to be pretty and polished and balanced, and Venus in its domicile of Libra is involved in this lunation. So there is this desire around, I want to feel seen, I want to feel understood, I want to feel connected. But for this connection to truly give me energy, for me to truly be able to add my own magic, my own authenticity to it, I need the space to be raw, to be messy, to be human, right? And this theme deepens when we consider that the lunation is conjoining Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Chiron is all about where it is that we have felt like we are not enough, where it is that we have felt imperfect, where it is that's almost like that exposed nerve within our world. And with this full moon illuminating this comet that's all about the wounded healer, it's illuminating all of the ways that we have felt like we are not enough. All of the ways that we have felt we have had to polish and perfect in order to be palatable and popular and liked and appreciated by other people. How freeing would it be to know that you are truly loved for who you are, with all of those messy imperfections, all of that rawness that you contain. With this lunation conjoining Chiron, it reminds us that our sensitivity is our strength. Where it is that you felt wounded or felt like you are not enough or felt flawed is part of your magic. I'm big on Chiron. You know, if you've worked with me, I typically will highlight Chiron if it is strong in your chart, because Chiron is such a beautiful path. Yes, it is the study of pain, but it's a study of what it is we do with that pain. Do we allow it to make us feel jaded and removed from other people? Do we allow it to allow us to feel trapped by projecting that we are one thing while hiding our authenticity underneath? Do we allow it with Chiron and Aries for us to go on the offense, for us to attack other people and project on other people because we don't want people to spotlight our own flaws and our own eccentricities? Or do we allow our wound, what it is that we have gone through, where it is that we felt scarred, Do we allow it to hold space for other people, to truly empathize? There is a particular magic when you are able to hold space for someone and be like, I genuinely get it. I have been through something so similar. And to really have the gift of empathy, it's being able to show our vulnerabilities. And I won't lie, a lunation that conjoins Chiron is painful. It digs up those old stories. It digs up those old roles that we felt like we've had to play for other people to keep the peace, to be the one who's liked, to be the one that's understood. And this full moon is like, no more. It starts today. I'm sick of pretending. I'm sick of performing. A lot of times when there's Libra energy dominant within a birth chart, a lot of these individuals do grow up as peacekeepers within their home. They could have felt responsible for making other people happy, for making sure emotions were balanced. And with this lunation, it's asking, it's okay for you to be raw and to be expressive. Aries is the energy around action, and raw action at that. And so with this access, it's illuminating all of the roles that we have played, and maybe the roles that we played in order to hide our own quirks and our own wounds, right? With the connection to Chiron. But it's almost this energy of surrender, this full moon is, and not surrender in a weak way around I give up, I'm not strong enough, but an energy around I'm sick of pretending. This is who I am. This is what I've gone through. And it's interesting what happens when you allow yourself to be seen within your authenticity. Firstly, you have to try so much less hard within your relationships and within your connections. If you find you leave, hanging out with friends or spending time with your partner and you feel exhausted because you felt you've had to perform and put on a show and be this person that they want you to be, I want you to realize that with this lunation and hold the space. Can you be authentic within your connections? Can you be messy? Can you be human? Can you be raw within them? And if you can't, that connection is not sustainable. How can you inject more authenticity even in light of your imperfections and messiness? That's what Chiron's all about. Where it is that we've been wounded, where it is that we do not fit in, where it is that we feel like we are fundamentally not good enough. But around reframing our narrative to that, around maybe it's something that you've always pushed down, like you've always pushed down just how socially awkward you feel, or you've always pushed down how insecure you are around how it is that you communicate. But this is the energy where it's like, yes, I've struggled in these ways. Yes, I'm not good enough in these ways. So what? So what? Because when we allow ourselves to integrate our flaws, we grant the space for other people to integrate theirs. And I'm telling you, as pretty and polished as Libra energy can be, the world is a lot more interesting when we allow people who really tap into their magic by tapping into their story and tapping into their alchemizing of their wound, of what it is that they've gone through, from reframing it from a weakness into a strength, right? And when we grant ourselves a space to be messy and imperfect, we grant the space for other people as well, and things get a lot more interesting. So I do want to highlight this full moon can bring a lot of wounds to the surface, okay? When there's Chiron involved, I'm talking deep stuff, where it is that you have internalized that you are not good enough and parts of yourself that you feel like you needed to hide in order for your relationships to sustain themselves. But I want you to repeat after me. Any relationship that requires me to perform or step out of integrity is not a connection that I need to be in. Your connection should honor you, even when you show up raw and messy. Any connection that only accepts you when you are perfect and polished is not a connection for you. This is the energy around allowing the mask to be put down and realizing how strong it can feel to be vulnerable and how strong it can feel to be soft, especially if you've been on the offense for so long. Because a lot of times when there's Aries energy, they've developed this need to meet their own needs because they don't feel safe to allow other people to meet them for them. And a lot of times Aries energy can project this need around, I don't need anybody, I can get it all for myself. I don't need a soul. And this Aries full moon is impacting how much of your independence is because you're independent and how much of it is because of a trauma response. How much of it is you fundamentally not trusting people, so you push people away because you're like, I don't need you, I can get my needs met on my own. With the conjunction to Chiron, it's sort of investigating those wounds around where it is that your independence could have been a result of you trying to protect yourself from this world. It's this interesting balance. Libra wants to connect, but Aries needs authenticity in order to connect. Aries is deeply independent, but Libra reminds us that connections are here to support us. So it's an interesting balance of the two, allowing yourself the space for Chiron Chiron to, yes, trigger some underlying insecurities, but also allow the pathway. And I commonly share this quote whenever we have a Chiron lunation, but it's from Rumi: the wound is where the light enters. Truly. A lot of times our purpose is wrapped up into where it is that we've felt wounded, and where it is that you have felt not enough can have important clues around where it is that you are meant to show up as a healer, as an alchemist within this world. It takes you first being honest with yourself, realizing you're human, you're flawed, you're imperfect, and that's okay. When we really take our wounds off the pedestal around having to hide them and protect them and wear a mask in order to not let people in, when we do all that, we build up this wound. When we allow ourselves just like, hey, I'm human, this is who I am in my raw authenticity, we almost just like take that wound off the pedestal, right? We integrate it into our personality. We allow ourselves to be seen and stop performing. That's a waste of energy, my love. So with this full moon, it is raw, it is vulnerable, it's kind of like an exposed nerve, right? It's a trigger, right? But it really allows us to realize that the pain is the pathway, the pain is the portal, like where it is that you have suffered and had to rebuild yourself. Certainly that was not easy, but a lot of times your purpose can be interwoven. Like, who are the people that you can reach because of what you have personally gone through? What is the calling that you feel personally drawn to because of your story? When we allow ourselves to stop building and pretending and projecting and just integrate, yeah, this is part of my story, this is part of who I am, and allow ourselves to vulnerably wear that, we can get clues around our purpose and the way that we can illuminate other people's light and glow. And with these vulnerabilities of this full moon, I do want to highlight there is something deeply practical about this full moon, which is powerful, because there's a sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. So it's almost anchoring down this energy where it's like, when you allow yourself to be seen within your authenticity, you build the space for other people to let their freak flag fly. You build the space to be able to call in community. When you let down the guard around, I've got it all together, I'm so strong, and I don't need anybody. When you allow yourself to be like, hey, I get lonely sometimes. Hey, I don't feel enough in these ways. You allow the space for your community to see you. I think I've shared this in a video before, but I feel called to share it here. There was a conversation that I had. I'm a Virgo moon and Virgo rising, so I am someone who's always been like, I don't need your help. I've got it. It's all good. But a friend came to me one day and she was like, Haley, when you act like it's all perfect and you don't need help, you don't allow your friends the gift of being able to help you. Your friends want to help you. Your community wants to help you. And when you project like you've had it all together, you don't allow us a space to do so. And so with this Aries full moon sextiling Saturn in Aquarius, which largely has to do with community and eccentricities, it's allowing us to realize, like, we may think that if other people see our raw vulnerabilities, that they would push us away, but oftentimes it gives us the space to be even more relatable and even more lovable. So allowing yourself to take down the mask, because it allows your community to take down theirs. Like, okay, now that we're not pretending that we're perfect, here's what's really going on with me. So now that we've talked about the themes of this full moon, let's talk about how it is that you can celebrate. So let's talk about some Aries full moon ritual suggestions that I recommend based on my study of astrology. Again, ritual is a personal thing, so feel free to do what feels right for you. Use discernment always, especially with the Aries full moon that is as healing and as potent as this one. Here's a couple of ideas that I have. Firstly, I would integrate fire. My suggestion would be to write down what it is that you are ready to release. Any shame, any guilt of the person that you are and the story that you've had. Writing down what you are ready to release, what's no longer serving you. Shame for certain parts of your story, certain parts of your personality, energy that you've had to hide and project and protect, right? I want you to write that down. I'm ready to release feeling ashamed for this. I am ready to release hiding this weakness. I am ready to release being hyper independent so that I don't trust other people. I want you to write it down and then light it on fire. Please do so safely. But with this fiery full moon, I would deeply recommend utilizing fire. Fire is a very transforming influence. It takes the essence of what it is that you're infusing into the paper and allows it to be transformed and then released, right? So that would be a way that I would offer up using this influence. I would also encourage taking at least a little bit of time and space for yourself. Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. It's about self-sufficiency. And again, that's not always a bad thing. But with Chiron, it is bringing to the surface, okay, where is it that I'm independent because that's the person that I am, and where is it that I'm independent because I don't trust other people, right? And so with that being said, I would take at least a little bit of time to be on your own, to just clarify these healing potent themes, to at least clarify who it is that you are outside of connection, so you can realize what connections you feel like you have to perform and put on a show and be this person around. And I would also highlight balancing out that alone time with loved ones. Like I said, the Aries Libra axis is all about being ourselves in connections and connections that allow ourselves to be ourselves. So it's nice to have a duality within your weekend, within your celebration, allowing yourself some space to heal, to attune to the underlying illuminations that can come to the surface. As that full moon gets bigger and bigger, so do our emotions, especially with the conjunction to Chiron, but also having some space to be within relationships, to be within connections. It is Libra season after all. I would also encourage doing something adventurous, doing something that makes you feel powerful, that makes you feel strong. This is also an Aries theme. Okay, so that's the collective themes that can be coming to the surface with this Aries full moon. I do want to bring to the surface what themes within your chart it'll be illuminating, but firstly I want to give a quick tutorial of how it is you can find which house this lunation will land within your chart. Option A, if you use whole sign house system or you are not interested in finding degrees, I want you to simply look below, find your rising sign, and advance to that timestamp to understand which house is being illuminated. If you use Placidus, I do as well. It is a little bit more tricky, but I promise it can lead to deeper insights. So what you'll do is you're gonna wanna find 16 degrees Aries and where that falls within your birth chart. I'll show you examples based on astro.com. After inputting your birth chart, look at the circle chart and you'll wanna find the red Aries symbol. It'll be a sign on the outer circle of the chart. You found it? Okay. Now I want you to notice when you follow the inner ring. So look at the pieces of pizza that Aries symbol encapsulates. So let's say you see that Aries symbol falls within both the 7th house and the 8th house of your natal chart. Great. So we'll know that this lunation either falls within the 7th house or the 8th house. You can either just listen to both readings and see which applies, or we'll want to look to degrees to see where specifically it falls within our chart. So what you'll do is you will find the little tally marks. The shorter tally marks designates degrees of 5, the larger is degrees of 10. So it goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And Aries starts on the side that's closest to the Pisces symbol, which is a blue like H thing. So find the bordering line in between the Pisces symbol, the blue H, and the Aries symbol, the red kind of like horns. That's 0 degrees Aries. So you know that first tally mark is 5. That second tally mark is 10 degrees Aries. That third tally mark is 15 degrees Aries. This lunation falls at 16. So I want you to find that 15 degrees Aries and then follow the inner ring and see which number that piece of pizza that around 15, 16 degrees Aries falls within, and that is the house that this lunation falls. Sometimes it's very difficult to tell. So what you'll do in astro.com, you'll click on PDF additional tables. You'll find that Aries symbol, again, it looks like horns, and you'll see which house, that's the number to the left, Aries starts, right? So let's say you see that the 8th house is started by 17 degrees Aries, right? Because this is at 16 degrees Aries, so it's not quite at 17. If 17 degrees is where the 8th house begins, this full moon must be in the 7th house, the house before, right? Let's say if this lunation was at 18 degrees, we would know it's in the 8th house because 18 comes after 17. It's not quite there, so it's in the 7th house. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you need any support. And now that we found it within our birth chart, let's break it down Aries full moon, house by house. Okay, love, so if this Aries full moon lands within the first house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be an Aries ascendant, but not always though. So make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. My love, this lunation is illuminating your first house of self-identity, and it really is a divine returning to you. Like the sun and the sun and Venus are most likely in your 7th house of other people, and this lunation sort of balances that axis around where it is that you felt you've had to conform to other people's desires for you. Keep in mind, not everybody who has this will be Aries ascendant. A lot will. And I do want to highlight, if you are Aries ascendant, you are meant to interact with this world boldly and courageously and authentically. And for some of you, it's almost like this decalcifying around parts of you that you've had to integrate in order to feel like you were enough for others, in order to conform, where you've been told you're too much, that's too much, you got to tone it down. This full moon is a return to, no, this is who I am. And with Chiron also there, some of you have been feeling really insecure, honestly. You've been wanting to hide. And for some of you, since first house has to do with our physicality, our appearance and our body, some of you have been feeling self-conscious around your physicality. And I don't want you to feel like you need to be perfect and polished all of the time. And I want you to feel free to express yourself in the ways that feel good. And this lunation makes me sad for, this is a general reading, but for a couple of people, I can really see that you've been struggling under the weight of perfectionism, or under the weight of what other people want you to be, or the pressure that you put on yourself. And this lunation is this divine surrender, stopping trying to achieve this standard of perfection and choosing to treat your body with love. Some of you have been pushing yourself too hard. And I deeply encourage you with this lunation to come back to your own beauty. It's interesting because Venus is in the 7th house, which is the house around what we project onto others because we don't see within ourselves. So with Venus currently transiting the 7th house, there can be this energy where you are spotlighting and comparing yourself to other people around, why can't I be as pretty as this person or as valuable as this person, and not able to see it within yourself. And this full moon can be bringing up these wounds or these vulnerabilities within your own being, whether it's your physicality or your personality or identity. And I deeply recommend during this understanding the concept of sacred mirrors. So when it is that you observe something within someone else that you admire, you carry that within yourself, okay? I want you to observe where it is that you notice the magic with other people, and understand that magic also exists within others. Rather than competing and comparing, allow yourself to feel inspired by that person and their luminosity, and inspire yourself to show up within your authenticity, within your boldness. A way to celebrate this lunation that would be beautiful and aligned is doing something physical, biking, cycling, something that makes you proud of yourself and reforms your body from something that needs to look good and perfect and polished to being proud of, wow, look what my body can do. I can run to the top of this mountain without stopping to rest, or I can do the splits again, or more so focusing on your body through this lens around challenging yourself to be the best version of yourself for you. Yes, connections will be illumination within this lunation, okay? There will be a focus on them. And I want you to notice which connections you feel free to be yourself. After connecting with them, you feel energized, you feel alive, you feel inspired. And which connections you feel drained, you feel exhausted, you feel like you have nothing left to give. And I want you to notice that, and I want you to observe that. And this lunation is bringing those connections back into balance, and furthermore, it's bringing the relationship that you have with yourself back into balance. If this Aries full moon lands within the 2nd house, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Pisces rising, not always though, so make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, love, so this is illuminating the sector of your chart around money and values. And yes, this lunation can be, tied with a significant illumination around money, whether a need to budget or be less impulsive around finances perhaps. And there can be some shame around that. Like for some of you, there can be some shame around being impulsive or erratic with money, spending more than you are earning. And this lunation could be bringing that to the surface. Like I would deeply recommend, if that is you, I'll name some other manifestations in a second, but if you are someone who sort of is scared to face the music, I would deeply recommend during this lunation pulling up your credit card statement, like looking at it boldly. Because again, this is a lunation where when we keep our wounds or our insecurities in the dark, it just creates a space for them to like multiply, right? This is a lunation about taking our weaknesses and putting them out into the forefront, right? So facing the music, okay? We cannot heal unless we observe, okay? So if you have not been proud of how you have been spending money, just face it head on. Forgive yourself. That is huge, okay? I want you to forgive yourself for what you spend on that unexpected expense or however else that shows up, or your business not doing great, or however, right? I want you to forgive yourself, okay? And for some of you, this can be an illumination around not feeling like you've been demanding your fair worth. Maybe for some of you with the opposition to Venus, you've been feeling like you are being undervalued. The finances within your world does not feel balanced and at ease. I want you to firstly forgive yourself, and I want you to also forgive yourself for not recognizing your own value. Because with Chiron in the second house, you're on this, keep in mind, Chiron will be there for a long time. This is a long-term journey around learning to see and recognize your own value and healing where it is that you have undervalued yourself. With Chiron in Aries, even undervalued your physical body and how that echoes into other areas of your life, energetically, financially. Because second house, beyond just money and finances and possessions, it's how it is that we value ourselves, our self-esteem. And that translates. Like when we have done things that made us feel ashamed or treated our bodies in ways that made us feel ashamed, that can echo into how it is that we spend money on ourselves, what it is that we feel worthy of purchasing for ourselves. I just want you to notice how it is that those feel linked within your world. Forgive yourself for financial mistakes that you're not proud of, or debts that you're not proud of, or decisions that you made because you did not value yourself, right? I want you to forgive that. And yes, like with this lunation, it can be this healing energy around illuminating finances, truly. Like for some of you, there can be, money flowing your way, especially if you sort of do some work around healing. For some of you, I'm really getting this sense, some of you have been wounded in finances. Like you could have grown up in scarcity, there was never enough, and it gave you with this feeling around always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And with this moon illuminating, it's like, I don't want to live in fight or flight anymore. I don't want to live in fear anymore, fearing that another bill is going to take me out, right? How is it that I can heal the psychological relationship that I have with finances in order to build a relationship with money that is grounded, that is fair, that feels balanced and equitable? How can I open myself up for the flow of money to reach me? Because, with it linking 8th house, I want you to be open and, release any suffocation of money by being like, well, it needs to come through in this way. Like money's only going to show up via my job. Being open to, abundance that shows up via money you would have spent, via discounts, via sales, via gifts. Like I want you to observe the abundance around you and release feeling like it needs to come through in one way, as well as really doing some work around self-esteem, okay, my love? Like with Chiron in Aries and this Aries full moon, notice where you have undervalued yourself, and that can echo into your finances. Because if you don't see your value, there is so many employers out here that are so ready to take advantage of that, okay? And it's like someone who knows who they are and knows the value that they bring is a powerful force. So I want you to return to your courage. I want you to return to your power. Some people can be getting a raise through this energy of courage. For some of you, maybe it's an illumination around, I really want to earn my own income. I'm sick of depending on you. I really want to open up a new stream of income and heal my own imposter syndrome, or where it is that I feel like I have nothing of value to share. Because with Chiron, it asks us to be fearless in the face of our vulnerabilities, in the face of that voice that says, you're not good enough, this will never work. Be fearless, be courageous, and allow abundance to reach you and find you. So this reading is for you if the Aries full moon lands within the 3rd house of your astrological natal chart. You may potentially be an Aquarius ascendant, not always though. So I want you to go by the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, love. So there is this divine call for communication, and communication that is raw and messy. You've been trying to polish your perspective of the world and polish your truth so that it is more palatable for other people, okay? And this is a illumination that says no more. Whether you've been projecting like, I'm so perfect and I've got it all together and there's nothing wrong with me on social media, or in your connections being like, nope, no need to worry about me, everything's great in my world. This illumination where it's like, let's let's cut the BS. Let's really let our mask down. Let's allow ourselves to be seen, and let's know that we are worthy of speaking our truth, of really feeling seen within our connections. There is this divine healing taking place within your mind, within your words. On the note of mind, with Chiron, this is a long-term transit, Chiron in third house. This full moon is just illuminating it. So again, when we have a planet, or in this case a comet, floating through a house, it's sort of like this deep underlying work that we're doing in the background, but it gets triggered if it hits a personal planet or if it's involved in a lunation like this one. So this is a long-term journey. So I don't want you to feel like these wounds that you're working through need to be healed overnight. But with Chiron in the third house, you can be observing how it is that you've been beating yourself up within your mind, or being very, very mean, or very critical within your mind, or hyper-focusing on your flaws and on your insecurities. And because you're being so critical, you're almost feeling like other people are going to be that critical of you. And so you're not sharing what it is that you need to share. I want you to observe how healing this lunation is when you allow yourself to feel seen, and seen within your truth, and communicating what it is that you feel. I want you to allow your communication to be raw and messy. I just want the words to slip out of your throat, okay, without filtering, and allow it to be polarizing. You do not need to edit and filter everything for you to be loved. I would deeply recommend during this lunation doing some sort of exercise, whether it's just free-form journaling or chatting with a friend and just really giving them the tea. I just want you to open up your throat center. Like, I just want you to talk and talk and talk and talk, and allow it to be messy, and get it out there, and allow it to really flow. Even if you feel this noise, or even if you feel this tendency around, okay, people might not agree with that, or okay, is it safe to tell my connections that? Is it safe to be seen within my authenticity? Recode that. It is safe to speak my truth. That's the affirmation I would anchor in with this full moon. It is safe to be seen, okay? And also with third house, it also illuminates skill sets, as well as like interests, hobbies that we are interested in. So also for some of you, there can be this divine healing around, I genuinely like collecting Pokemon cards, and I'm allowing myself to be seen within that truth. I generally have this weird nerdy interest, and I'm gonna allow myself to be seen. I'm gonna post about it on Instagram. Who cares what people think about my truth? It's allowed to be messy, it's allowed to be imperfect, and I'm gonna allow myself to free other people by being fully in that. Now, third house has to do with neighbors and siblings, so there also could be healing energy there, but I really want you to focus on being fully yourself around your neighbors, around your siblings, like allowing yourself to be authentic and fiery and fierce, okay? And allowing your truth to be fiery and fierce. It doesn't have to be palatable and pretty and polished. It can be raw. It can be unapologetic. It can be you. Because when we are safe to reveal our truth to others, we allow ourselves to reveal the truth to ourselves. Like, there can be certain illuminations around your internal landscape, your communication, where when you give yourself that space, whether it's in a journal to yourself, even like a voice memo yourself, I want you to let those thoughts spill out. I want you to let those words spill out, okay? Because you can be unlocking illuminations for yourself, where it's like when you talk in therapy, it's like, whoa, I never considered it that way. But it's like when we're pushing down our thoughts and pushing down our thoughts, like it's not safe to think about that. It's not safe to explore that. It's not safe to talk about that. We also keep it in the dark for ourselves. It's this energy which, yes, illuminates our weaknesses, but illuminates it for you where it's landing within your chart in a way where we're able to make sense of it. We're able to understand where that narrative came to be. And furthermore, we're able to reshape that narrative. Like, you can have this underlying story within you, like, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. But when you have a dialogue during this time, you can find, wait, I just feel like that because of this thing that happened in my childhood, or this thing that happened at the talent show. How can I reshape the narrative of that? How can I reshape where it felt like I was not enough into, I love that inner child version of me, and I'm replacing it with a new narrative around, I recognize my own value. I see the worthiness of my own soul. And this house isn't about worthiness intrinsically, but it's about the narrative of how we craft our world. So there can be certain painful memories that surface, or painful narratives that you tell about yourself surface during this time. Love yourself for it. Forgive yourself for it. Reshape your connection to those narratives. and find how powerful and courageous and fearless you feel. If this Aries full moon lands within the 4th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Capricorn rising, not always though, so make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, love, so for you, it is this divine culmination around home, family, and emotional state. Give yourself the space for your mess and for your emotions to be messy. I don't know if it's because of professional pressure or just a pressure that you feel like you just need to be polished and perfect when you interact with the public. But there is this energy where you are just censoring your emotions. And there almost feels like there's this disconnect between who it is that you are at work or what it is that you project yourself to be on social media or to the public and who it is that you authentically are. It almost feels like two different personas. And this lunation is a marriage of the two, okay? So I want you to relinquish yourself from the chains around feeling like you always need to be on or perfect. Many of you do have, careers or things where you do have to be professional, but that professionalism doesn't have to be a core dissonance between the person that you are and the person that you project yourself to be. Okay? I want you to allow your emotions to be messy and your needs to be messy. And know that it doesn't need to be polished and presentable always. A lot of you have this feeling like you always need to be the strong one. It is not safe for you to let your guard down. A lot of you have been in fight or flight, whether it's from childhood stories or something of the nature. And this is the energy which allows you finally to be like, I'm not always strong. And that's okay. Like, I need support sometimes, and that's okay. And for some of you, this is a deep lunation. Like with it meeting up with Chiron, a lot of you are like healing childhood wounds. Like I'm talking messages that you received of ways that you intrinsically felt like, I am not enough. I am not good enough. Like for some of you, there is an illumination around generational wounding and patterning around always needing to be in control or feel like you are the strong one or always needing to be courageous and not granting the space to be vulnerable. There is a divine shaking up in this sector and those stories of your lineage around where it was that you felt like you had to be the strong one, where it was that you felt like you always needed to be in control and always needed to be independent and able to meet your own needs. Like with this conjunction to Chiron, it's a healing. It's a healing through generational patterns and ancestral patterns and how that's coded into you and how that's shaped how it is that you show up within this world. Some of you could be healing, whether it's healing those patternings or it can be healing family members here. It can be healing connections with roommates, even just like wounds around not feeling safe at home because of like landlord or just home issues. A lot of you, there have been this, because Chiron will be in your 4th house for a long time. It's a long-term transit. This lunation is just illuminating it. So I don't want you to feel like you have to heal this overnight. But the full moon, it shines a light on it, right? So it's shining a light on the healing that you are doing around your ancestry, perhaps like ending certain patterns or illuminating why you are the way you are. It could be illumination around your idea of home, your psychological concept of home, whether it is that you truly feel the energy of safety, the energy of being able to let your guard down to feel at ease, and as well as this loosening around your own emotional state. Like with Chiron here, you can feel triggered during this full moon. Like there can be a triggering where something within your external world mirrors like a similar story that you've played within yourself. So for example, having a conversation that reminds you of an experience from childhood or something of the nature. And rather than allowing that trigger to allow you to act out, I want you to notice it and reshape the narrative, because we are either building our future or repeating the past. So when that trigger comes to the surface, rather than acting out in ways that you always have, shine a light on it, forgive it, love it, and see if you can choose a new response. That's what this lunation is bringing to the surface. So my love, if this Aries full moon lands within the 5th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Sagittarius rising, but not always. So I want you to go by the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, so this lunation is illuminating the sector of self-expression and creativity. And for some of you, you've gotten into a creative route of expression that has been very healing. If you have not, I would deeply recommend during this full moon doing something creative and allowing it to be messy. It does not need to be polished. It does not need to be perfect. In fact, if it's something like painting, I want you to get paint everywhere. I want it to be messy. I want it to be a reflection of you. I want you to enjoy the process. I want you to get over any perfectionism or any desire where it needs to color inside the lines. Be raw, be messy. You can find that's deeply healing for you. And because Chiron will likely be in your 5th house for a long time, it's a long-term transit, this full moon is just illuminating it. This can be a hobby or creative practice that is something that you found that you do find is healing. You're able to really transmute emotions by doing this. It's like I feel really intense and then I get to my guitar and then I'm able to transmute it, or I interior decorate my house and I feel so good being able to create beauty and to be authentic. And my rule for this is, you know, because there is this opposition to Sun and Venus, which is in the 11th house, so there almost is this energy around feeling like you need to keep up with the Joneses or make it be pretty or polished or palatable for other people. But 5th house is about the divine spark of life, just enjoying the process, allowing it to be an echo of ourselves. So even if you feel like you're like, well, everybody else is doing green kitchens, maybe I should do green kitchen. No, allow your kitchen to reflect yourself, even if it's eccentric, even if it's strange, even if it's off the wall. Again, this isn't a house that links interior design specifically, more so creativity as a whole, right? Like I want your home to reflect your unique essence. I want the songs that you write to reflect your unique essence, rather than making it around what will other people like? What will be the truth that's the most palatable and the easiest for other people to consume? No. This is an illumination which allows your truth and your creativity to be messy and raw. And even if you don't identify as a creative person, I would deeply recommend finger paint, write a song, just get some flow of energy. You can find it's very healing. You can find even you're able to reshape your connection to those familiar wounds. Because this is a long-term transit, a lot of you are doing some inner child healing at this time, okay? You are healing the part of yourself that could have been told to get serious too quick, or the parts of you where you feel like your innocence was lost. And this lunation is about getting back to that lust for life. It's about healing your inner child and doing things that he or she or they enjoy. It's about getting to the core of your offering to this world and allowing yourself to celebrate it. Some of you are healing certain relationship wounds, dating wounds that could have come to the surface, ways that you didn't feel valuable. Some of you are healing even this energy that you feel like you're not deserving of fun or play. Like some of you are divinely recoding that energy where you have not felt like you are worthy of having fun or not being the strong one, right? Like Aries is a very playful, excited energy. And for some of you, you've been getting so serious. And for a lot of you who have this here, you most likely have North Node in the 6th house. So like a lot of these eclipses is you had to get really busy and you've had to be very responsible, but I want you to return to your divine sense of fun. Enjoy the process, okay? And come back to that sense of fun. You do have time and it doesn't need to be palatable and perfect for community, because with Sun and Venus and Libra, you can feel like you have to perform for your friends or for your, community in order to fit in. And this energy where it's like, return to you. What do you like to wear? How do you like to express yourself? And for some of you, this is the sector around children. So there can be an illumination around your children, healing your relationship with your children, healing your inner child, as I highlighted, or as well as healing and forgiving yourself if you have had any challenges when it comes to fertility. If this Aries full moon lands within the 6th house of your astrological natal chart, this reading is for you. You may potentially be a Scorpio ascendant, but not always. So I want you to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries to see what themes this full moon is bringing to the surface. And for you, my love, the focus is upon day-to-day service as well as health. For some of you, there can be a healing taking place. If you have had any health struggles, there can be an illumination here around really carving out the pathway to healing, whether it is illuminating a new form of nutrition or a new natural way of being or a new way of treating your body with more love. Because outside of having health struggles, for some of you, you've just been pushing yourself too much. You've been doing. And with this illumination of Chiron, it's like, okay, how can I heal to make my body and my health a more pleasant place to be, right? And for some of you within your workplace, you have not been valuing yourself. You've been overworking yourself, maybe trying to prove your value by going above and beyond. And this illumination where it's like, enough. Like I'll show up, I'll do something that I'm proud of, but I'm sick of not recognizing my own value of what I contribute here. And for some of you, there needs to be this forgiving, okay, around yourself, whether it's work mistakes that you are beating yourself up for, any energy where you're like, I'm not productive within my day-to-day, I'm not efficient enough, I have too much on my plate. Forgive yourself. Some of you have just been running, and this lunation is, yes, a celebration around the service that you've done and the results that you've contributed to your work team or within your day-to-day, but it's almost this illumination around where that is coming from, a fundamental lack of seeing your own value, okay? Because it's gathered with Chiron. So a lot of you can be running just so you don't have to deal with what's coming to the surface. A lot of you can be pushing your body too hard just so you don't have to really see what it is that you are grappling with under the surface. Some of you can be trying to prove yourself to all of these people, to your superiors, to your coworkers, in an effort to feel enough for yourself. So there is this healing and there is this desire, like I highlighted, like Chiron's a beautiful energy because it's all about how it is that we alchemize our wounds, where it is that we feel like we are not enough and make them into gold or valuable for other people. So like a lot of you can find this lunation, you're volunteering, you completed a big work project, like you're doing something of value to the external world. You're taking care of your body, you are dialing in your routine. There's all these lovely manifestations of the 6th house lunation. But I want you to love yourself within the process. I don't want you to be so focused on being perfect and getting the results that you want that you are pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself. Because with Chiron in the 6th, yes, there is this long-term transit that has to do with healing your body. So again, if you have been struggling with your health, it's not something that's solved overnight with this full moon. This full moon just illuminates it. So paying attention to synchronistic messages that you receive around, oh, you should go see this doctor, try this supplement or anything of nature. Pay attention to that. This can be illumination of a pathway that's helpful for your healing journey, but it also illuminates where it is that you are creating a environment that is not sustainable for your body to operate in, right? Because currently, if you have this here, you most likely have Venus in the hidden house. So you are not seeing your own value, right? And when you don't see your own value, you try to go above and beyond. You push yourself too hard. And this energy that's calling for balance within your physical body, within this physical expression. And yes, pursuing the goals, being of service, having your daily routine, yes, but allowing it to be centered in love, truly, and in your healing journey, like not pushing yourself and hoping that one day someone will recognize your value. That needs to come from within. For some of you, there has been this fundamental sort of cognitive dissonance around the person that you are at work and the person you are at home. And so this can be sort of a merging of the two. Again, obviously for professionalism, sometimes we do need to be a little bit more polished at work, but this is the energy around allowing our authenticity to be interwoven into the service that we provide and the offering that we are here to give this planet. So another kind of theme that's loosening with this Aries full moon. This Aries full moon lands within the 7th house of your astrological natal chart. You may potentially be a Libra ascendant, not always though. So I want you to listen to a reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. So this lunation largely is focused around your relationships and partnerships, okay? And whether you can be yourself within them and whether they are truly balanced. Some of you can be dealing at this time with a egotistical or self-centered person within your world, and you can have to kind of like heal you allowing that space. And again, when it comes to 7th house, there's a lot of themes that have to do with sacred mirrors. So what is that person reflecting to you about you? Like, are they someone who's self-centered, or are they just someone who maintains boundaries and you go above and beyond to, you know, accommodate other people while ignoring your own boundaries? So someone who fiercely embodies theirs triggers you. Of course, some of you can be dealing with someone who is genuinely selfish, but some of you can be having this person in your life to remind you to be a little bit more selfish, to be a little less accommodating, okay? There is this healing when it comes to relationships. Some of you are healing from a breakup. Some of you are healing from past relationship dynamics, ways that you were not valuing yourself within that connection. Some of you are dealing with relationship stuff that's coming to the surface and ways that relationships are mirroring or reflecting areas of your life and of yourself that you need to heal. And that's challenging. That's triggering, right? With it, it's almost like if you are in a connection, there could be a conversation had around this full moon that reminds you of like a deep wound where it's like, oh, that reminds me of my relationship in high school when he told me that I was too big to fit into the prom dress, and my partner didn't say those words exactly, but the tone was similar, and it just brings me back to that primal wound. And I want you to be cognizant of that, because there can be an energy where you want to lash out, whether it's a client, a one-to-one contact, a partner, someone that you are, dating. There's almost this energy where if someone reminds us of a trigger, we can feel the tendency to lash out. I want you to observe where that trigger comes to the surface. And rather than repeating the past, so allowing that trigger to lash out and to keep that wound in the dark, I want you to observe, whether it's like journaling or talking in that conversation, hey, that hurt me. Or maybe it's like a similar argument that keeps coming to the surface, and illuminating, hey, we are stuck in this pattern. How can we move beyond this wound? How can we stop triggering the hell out of one another? How can we allow ourselves to really illuminate this wound? Again, the full moon is by Chiron. So it's showing us, hey, we're hurting here. Hey, we're vulnerable here. And rather than like keeping it in the dark and ignoring it and pushing it away, it's this energy around, okay, now that we've realized this, what can we do with this? How can we move forward? What's our pathway forward? And for some of you, even if you're not in a connection, there can be a healing of your past relationship. You could be dreaming about an ex, or just observing where it was that you didn't feel safe within your partnership, where it was that you felt like you had to perform and soothe and accommodate, and kind of setting the pathway to healing. Really allowing yourself to be seen in future connections, and allowing yourself to really be seen within your authenticity. If you have this, you most likely have Libra at least somewhat in your first house. So it's been important to your identity to be the one who's easygoing, who doesn't make a big scene, who just goes with the flow. And this illumination, whether it's reflected within your partnerships, where it's like, it's okay to raise hell, okay? It's okay to raise hell sometimes. It's okay to be a problem. It's okay to be raw and to be messy. Obviously, we don't want to be mean, but I want you to be authentic in your expression. I want you to really notice where it is that this world has told you need to be palatable and pretty and likable, and be like, no, I need to be myself. Aries is a fire sign, right? It just burns. And it doesn't ask, am I too bright? Is this too warm? Is this too much? It just is. And I want you to get back to the part of you that just is. And I want you to celebrate the connections where you feel like you can just be. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be palatable and likable and popular. You can just be raw and authentic and brash and whatever messy truths that you entail. If the Aries full moon lands within the 8th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Virgo rising, but not always. So simply go by the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. So this lunation is an examination around how safe you feel to receive from others, okay? Whew. And a lot of you have this, keep in mind, not everybody, but a lot of people who have this will be Virgo ascendants. And you have this messaging within you. You have this code within you around needing to project, I'm perfect. I've got it all together. Don't worry about me. I'm independent. I can do it myself. Don't worry, don't worry. And it's interesting seeing this transit play out, because you also have Jupiter in the 8th house most likely. If not now, it'll enter soon. But with Jupiter, it's expanding 8th house. You can be receiving a lot from people if you're open to ask. Closed mouths do not get fed, right? And the universe wants to pour abundance to you, abundance in emotional and financial support, but you have to be open to like decalcify the ego in order to allow it into your world. It's like the energy where it's like someone wants to give you a gift of $200 and you're like, oh, I couldn't possibly. Or like someone wants to buy you dinner. Oh, I couldn't possibly. Notice where this is coming from, a fundamental lack of worthiness, where you do not feel worthy to accept a free dinner or to accept $200. You've been coded to feel like you have to do something to earn it. No, I want you to think of the gifts and the abundance that rains upon you. The universe is wanting to give this to you. And I want you to observe the abundance that shows up, whether it's money that you would have spent, discounts, gifts. I want you to observe all that's rushing in. And I want you to be open. Universe, I am open to money reaching me in unusual ways, unexpected ways. I highlighted this in the second house reading too, but oftentimes we suffocate the flow of money by being like, it can only show up through my job, right? Obviously, that's a big way that money reaches us, but open yourself up to money reaching you in unexpected ways, random checks in the mail from insurance companies or things of the nature. Stay open and know that you are worthy of it. Some of you with Chiron here, you've been hyper independent because you don't feel worthy of accepting support from other people, or you don't feel like it's safe. You feel like it's more safe if you earn what it is that you want so that no one expects anything from you, right? 8th house is how it is that we merge with others. For some of you with Chiron here, if you are married, There can either be this illumination around how it is safe to receive support from your partner if they do financially support you. Some of you can be recovering. Again, this is a general reading, so this particular piece might only resonate for a couple people, but some of you can be recovering from any sort of like financial infidelity or any sort of like financial wounds that you have to recover from, whether your partner was spending money that you didn't know about, or you guys have had to sort of face your partner's spending habits and how it might be a little bit impulsive because it's Aries, right? And how it is that they spend money. There is a healing energy around really being able to illuminate, hey, this hurt me when you spent our shared income like this, or hey, this hurt me when you said I couldn't spend money on this and then you spent money on this. But it's illuminating the trigger not to get in a fight and open up a new can of worms to fight about money all over again, but rather find a pathway forward. Like, hey, do we need a new budgeting system? Do we need to communicate about purchases before they're made? How can we illuminate this wound and what's not working about how it is that we spend money and create a new pathway, a solution forward, rather than just triggering the hell out of one another and just staying in this wounded state, right? It's illuminating the wound. So again, one or both of you might not be totally happy with how the shared income have been, dealt with. And again, to bring it back to a larger perspective, 8th house also taxes, inheritances, alimony, child support. There can be certain wounding around money that comes to you from others and a need for forgiveness and a need for kind of illuminating the role that support has played within your world. That's certainly a theme with this lunation. To a broader extent, if you are not married and don't have alimony or child support or any of the things, other themes. 8th house is death. Okay, it's intense. It is literally the state of transitioning from one thing to the next. It's merged energy, it's risky. And a lot of you are having to loosen how strong you hold on to reality and how strong you try to control. And that's again part of support from others. Like when we're like, oh, I just earn what I want, I buy what I want for myself, we don't allow people to help us and to support us because that feels risky. And some of you could be dealing with grief or just a major transformation within your world and you're trying to cling, but this lunation is around, yes, it can hurt and you can grieve the prior version of yourself and you can grieve the innocent version of yourself. But just understanding that this world is ever evolving and that any control that we have is a myth, truly. And that's a bitter pill to swallow. Like I said, this is not a light and fluffy full moon. It's conjoined with Chiron. It's intense. It's bringing to the surface our wounding, right? So you can find, you might have lost someone a while ago and this lunation brings to the surface grieving that person. You can get signs from that person. But when we allow ourselves the space to grieve, whether it's a prior version of ourselves, a loved one that we've lost, we grant ourselves the space to change and evolve, which is what this lunation is trying to show us, that life is ever evolving. When we release our grip of control, we allow the space for synchronicities and miracles and being open to the universe rather than clinging to what was. Because let me tell you, my love, the only constant in this world is change. And this is a deep soul diver lunation. And I want you to deep soul dive into your inner landscape, into intimacy, into the support that you receive from others. If this Aries full moon lands within the 9th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Leo rising, not always though. So I want you to just go by the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, love. So this is illuminating your big picture. And some of you have some wounding here. I mean, Chiron is a long-term transit and it's going through this sector. And I'll name some manifestations. For some of you, there can be grappling your big picture. Like you could have had an experience with a religious institution that fundamentally shook up your world, where it's like, I don't know what I believe in. I was brainwashed to believe this, or I believe this, and then the leader got outed for this and this and this, and now I just don't know where to turn. I don't know what my big picture is, and there can be wounding around it. For some of you, there can be wounding around your academic reality, higher learning. And some of you, it's just like a crisis of faith, truly. You're just like, I don't know where to turn. A lot of people who have this have a Leo rising. Fixed signs have been going through it. Not everybody will be Leo ascendant, but if you are a Leo rising, my love, I'm sending you love because it's not been easy. And some of you could have had so many situations that it's almost like, I don't even believe in God because what the heck am I dealing with right now? But interestingly, you most likely also have Jupiter here. It's not involved in this lunation, but this is a really profound soul searching time. If you can allow yourself to heal this wounding around, I must be alone because why the hell would God put me through this, right? Why the heck does this make sense? And this is a divine returning to your big picture and sort of healing where it was that you felt like you were not supported or you were here alone. Like, I'm not saying you have to go join a religious institution, but I am saying connect to the big picture that makes sense for you, that gives you a broader sense of faith and meaning within this world. It can be spirituality, it can be astrology, it can be higher learning, it can even be nature, just something that reminds you, hey, I'm not here alone. You know, like with the Aries full moon, it's certainly illuminating where it is that we felt like we've had to be strong and vulnerable, and with it in the ninth house by Chiron, where it's like, there must not be a God because I'm out here by myself. There's this softening around, I'm open to receiving support from the universe or attuning to my big picture. And I also want to highlight, you have currently, if you have this here, you most likely have Sun and Venus in the third house, which has to do with your voice, your language. So for some of you, you have felt like your expression on social media and your communication has had to be palatable in order to be liked. Because ninth house is our beliefs. And it's like some of your beliefs can be polarizing or like not necessarily popular. And some of you can be sugarcoating what it is that you really feel in order to be liked by others. And this is sort of energy around, what would it look like to be boldly and unapologetically yourself? What would it look like to be anchored in your beliefs and to have a sense of belief that makes you feel profoundly held by something bigger than yourself? Again, it doesn't need to be religion. It can be spirituality, anything that makes you feel supported within the big picture. Some of you can have some wounding around that. So I don't want you to feel like it needs to happen overnight, but it is illuminating this desire to take a step back from the day to day and be like, what am I passionate about? What is the big picture of my world? What do I believe in? What is my sense of faith, right? Some of you, random, but some of you can have a desire during this time to go on a new quest, to travel somewhere new, to enroll in higher education. Some of you could be healing this energy that you did feel in education, that your thoughts were too polarizing or that you were too weird to fit in. Some of you are doing some healing there. But all in all, I want you to return to the big picture that makes sense to you and have that fiery, unapologetic perspective around, this is how I see the world. This is what allows me to have a sense of faith and of connection to a big picture. Okay, love, so if this Aries full moon lands within the 10th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Cancer rising, not always though, so make sure to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. Okay, so this is illumination around career. And for some of you, you have been told that you need to be polite and not ask for too much. And this illumination around, you are meant to interact with the public in a way that is raw and courageous. You're meant to do your own thing. And it's interesting, this combination, because a lot who have this are Cancer rising. So you might feel a little bit more comfortable being a little bit behind the scenes, but it's like interesting because you're meant to meet with the public in a way that is somewhat brash and impulsive and courageous and births new things into existence. And this is illumination around where it is that you're keeping yourself small, where it is that you haven't been going after the opportunities that you know you're a fit for because of this suffocation around your confidence or not seeing the value within yourself. Some of you even, I mean, Sun and Venus is in the fourth. So for some of you, you can even have this energy of like insecurity around your family members. Like, well, no one does that. No one in your family is entrepreneurs. No one, makes their own schedule. Your desires are too unrealistic. With this Aries full moon, it's like, no, this is what I want. I'm going to go get it. And it's healing anything within you, whether it came from family, lineage, or just your internal confidence. Anything that made you feel like you are not deserving of your desires. Your desires picked you for a reason. There is a reason why you dream and you fantasize about what it is that you want. And this lunation is not only illuminating your career, so there can be significant career developments, a promotion, a significant conversation with a boss, a boost in sales if you run your own business, an illumination of the steps you want to take next. And with Chiron, it's illuminating your wounds. And again, you're having a long-term transit, Chiron in the 10th house, so there can be ability to alchemize your wounds into your career success. So for some of you, maybe you work in a healing profession, or maybe some of you fell into your career because something that you personally struggled with. I have hearing loss, so I was drawn to be an audiologist. And it's sort of like unpacking our vulnerability and allowing ourselves to be seen within this, especially if you're a business owner. It's sort of unpacking where it is that you felt like you needed to hide and be palatable. Obviously, we want to be professional, but with this lunation, it's saying, what if your vulnerability made you even more magnetic? What if you being honest, allowed clients to see even more of themselves within you and want to work with you. And some of you can be healing certain connections that you've had with bosses or things of the nature. It can be an illumination of, you know, careers that didn't work out. With Chiron, it's where we've been wounded. But I really want you to reframe the narrative around knowing like, okay, I dreamt about being a firefighter. It didn't work out, but that desire led me to this, which led me to this. Like Chiron is all about the wounding, yes, but how that wound let the light in, how it illuminated our pathway forward. So this is a profound energy around healing our public persona. Maybe some of you are healing your image within the media or within business or within your reviews or within your workplace. Maybe that's part of the theme, but also around healing the opportunities that we kept ourselves back from. You have this Aries full moon landing in 10th house. You are meant to be courageous. You are meant to be a trailblazer within work. So healing where it is that you have not felt valuable enough to go after what it is that you want, and to boldly and unapologetically and publicly be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire, particularly as it relates to your career. So love, if this Aries full moon lands within the 11th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Gemini rising, not always though. So I want you to go by the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. So for you, there is this healing occurring within your friendships. For some of you, you have not felt safe within your relationships. Maybe some of your friendships are like out of guilt or out of necessity or because, oh, we've always been friends, right? Maybe some of you are healing from a really devastating friendship breakup, something that you had to set boundaries for. Maybe during this lunation, you realize, hey, I don't feel safe to be myself within this connection. And how can I reveal my truth and allow it to be messy and raw and me? Because what is a friendship if we have to fake the funk in order for it to survive? You at least in part have Aries in 11th house. So you cannot have connections and be out of integrity with yourself. Your connections need your zest and your you-ness for them to survive, right? And I want you to celebrate that from within. And I want you to open up this healing flow of energy, whether it's healing from a past friendship breakup. For some of you, it's just healing where it was that you had a fundamental lack of belonging, where you felt like you didn't have a like-minded community around you, and where you felt like the odd person out, and you felt like you had to polish and perfect in order to be liked by other people. There's a profound healing there occurring. And I want you to grant the space to be vulnerable with your connections. Like, this can be a divine celebration of being around the people who make you feel seen, who allow you to be held within your vulnerabilities and within your messiness. I just want to share, this isn't where it's occurring within my chart, but this just reminds me of an experience that I just had. The night I got to New York, I was on a red eye and I was so exhausted because right when I got there, my friends had just woke up because they got there like 7:30 New York time. And so we just launched into doing stuff all day, and then we went out that night. And I think I was just overtired, and one little thing set me off and I was just like sobbing. And my friends just held me. They didn't make me feel weird. They just allowed me to cry. Keep in mind, my friend group's like a bunch of water signs, so like we all take turns crying when we go out. But I felt so seen with my weaknesses, and I just got to get that out. I was like, I'm going through it. And they were like, we know, we've got you. It's okay. Just let it out. Be messy. Be imperfect. And I really hope that you have friends like that. And this could be a celebration around allowing your truth to be heard by your friends and allowing that healing to be reflected by your connections. For some of you, realize which connections don't allow you that space. And this can be a lunation that reminds you that maybe boundaries are needed or something of the nature. 11th house also has to do with colleagues, things of the nature. So allowing yourself to feel seen within your weirdness, within your authenticity, within those connections, as well as recoding what belonging looks like for you. Rather than feeling like you have to hide your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities in order to fit in, what if you could be loved and appreciated and feel a sense of belonging, not in spite of, but because of your weaknesses and vulnerability? What would that feel like? And I also want to draw to the surface that this involves the 5th house of self-expression. So maybe some of you, if you are someone who's creative, you've been really designing it, with this idea of being accepted in mind. And I want your creativity to be raw. It doesn't need to be polished, doesn't need to be perfect. I want you to anchor in the affirmation, done is better than perfect. or my messy first draft is good enough. This would be really great to be in a full moon circle around other people and really just spotlight where it is that you need healing and allow those wounds to feel seen and understood and accepted by other people. 11th house is also hopes and dreams. So maybe some of you are healing certain dreams and ambitions that didn't work out, and that it's okay that they didn't work out, and forgiving yourself for that. And with Chiron, it's the gifts that that wound gave us. So yes, it might hurt that your dreams of being a ballerina didn't work out, but think about the friends you made in that dance class and how your desire for ballet led to this passion for dance history, which led to this, which led to that. It's all about that Chiron energy, which just can be triggering. It can be painful, allowing yourself that space to grieve the dreams that didn't work out for your future, but to understand the gift that they gave you, the empathy that they gave you. If this Aries full moon lands within the 12th house of your astrological natal chart, you may potentially be a Taurus rising, not always though. So I want you to listen to the reading of where you have 16 degrees Aries. So my love, this is an illumination of this hidden sector of your chart and of your life. Self-undoing, okay? And for some of you, with Chiron transiting this sector, again, long-term transit, so don't feel like this healing needs to be overnight. But some of you have been hiding certain parts of yourself, not only from other people, but from yourself. And a lot of times this is because of self-preservation. Like we felt like those parts were ugly or not accepted by other people, so we hide them, we suppress them. We forget that when we were younger, we used to love dinosaurs and collecting Pokemon cards and everything else that we felt like was weird or bizarre, right? We hide them, we suppress them, or we have a core dissonance around what it is that we project ourselves to be, who we are at work, and who it is that we are when we are in solitude. And as I've been highlighting, this can be a beautiful illumination of marrying the two, around allowing yourself to remember those core parts of yourself that you've suppressed, that you've pushed down, the ugly parts of yourself, the raw parts of yourself. I also want to illuminate that this is the sector of the chart that has to do with mental health and the underlying messaging that we tell ourselves. And you have Chiron in the 12th house, so you could be someone who's kind of been going through it, and you might not have felt safe being able to open up to other people about it. Our truth and our healing journey isn't always polished and perfect. And this might be an illumination around understanding, hey, I need support with this. Like I've been trying to fix myself and heal myself, but maybe if I share this with other people or a therapist, maybe I can create a new pathway forward for myself. And with this energy illuminating, you know, it can be triggering. It can make us feel very alone. This is the house of self-undoing. This is the house of solitude. So for some of you with this Aries full moon here, you can feel alone, either physically alone or surrounded by people, and just be like, how am I surrounded by people, but I still feel utterly alone because I don't feel seen, because I haven't even allowed myself to be seen. I don't even know who I am or what I'm going through. So I really want you, at least partly, to spend part of this full moon alone. Rather than perceiving it as isolation, I want you to see it as solitude, spiritual solitude, to give to yourself, to pour into yourself, to also allow stillness, to really allow these themes and subconscious processes and skeletons in the closet, what it is that you've been running from, to come to the surface, right? You've got to feel it to heal it. And this can be a painful full moon because it brings to the surface everything that we've run from and tried to hide from, right? It brings that forward. And we can either allow this energy to keep us in this fight or flight or in this triggered energy, or we can allow it to bring to the surface and be like, okay, I'm either repeating the past of ways that I've lashed out at other people or been on the offense or kept it hidden, right? I'm repeating the past, or I can build the future. Sort of integrating this wound, understanding I am not what happened to me. I am not where I've struggled. But it is part of my story. It is not my identity, but it is part of my story. And when I suppress the wound, I'm also suppressing gifts and vulnerability and all of these other components to myself. So it's about healing, truly, and healing the parts of ourself that is raw, that is messy. For some of you, not all, with this being the house of self-undoing, there can be a tendency to allow this triggering or this healing journey to allow you to turn to behaviors that are compulsive or are addictive, and to try to keep it in the dark, okay? To not deal with it, to keep ourselves numb. Like I said, you gotta feel it to heal it, and that's painful. Sometimes it's like so much is coming to the surface, you're like, where do I even start? And I really want you to illuminate where it is that you can be hiding from this wound. And it's not always like the traditional ways that you can think of. Like, yes, it can be drinking and other substances, but maybe it's overworking. Maybe it's being, you know, hyper independent and not letting other people in as a way that you're coping. You know, it's anything that we use obsessively or compulsively. Maybe it's connecting in a way that doesn't allow for true intimacy, doesn't allow ourselves to be seen. This illumination is bringing to the surface this hidden house, okay? So I want you to face courageously the energies in Aries, boldly and fearlessly go into the depths of your mind and the depths of what needs healing. Ensure you have support around you. Therapy would be a great option. Having a support system is a great option. Having a healthy daily routine is a great option. But I do want you to be fearless and courageous. So my love, I'm wishing you such a beautiful Aries lunation. Please let me know below what you are anchoring in during this full moon. My Instagram handle is @HaleyCometAstrology. My TikTok is the same. I would love to connect with you over there. And until we meet again, drink lots of water and stay cosmic.